Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Kung Fu Film Focus for this Saturday, January 4th, 2020. Happy New Year to everybody. I want to welcome everybody that's coming to the chat. I see a lot of faces, familiar faces have come in there, and we're here to talk about a classic from 1985. It's Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon. And guess what? I got a special treat for you today. I got a couple of brothers from the era who can join me and talk about this wonderful classic. I got my man Curtis Anderson, also known as Kurt Sugar, and my man Trap House Boxing. They're both here, and we're going to talk about this little gem called Berry Gordy's The Last Dragon. How you doing this afternoon, brothers?
Man, I'm doing great.
I'm doing great, Sammy.
Sorry, it took a little minute to get that going. We got a few people out there in the chat already looking to see what we got to say about Bruce Leroy. Hustler Slim is out there. Robert Stewart, Ramsey Sutin III. We got Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens. And I said Robert Stewart got and J1 Pro. I take it that these brothers, when they saw the notification, they said, "Oh, The Last Dragon," so they just came right on over, man, which is okay. The Last Dragon is a film that was made, I guess, Berry Gordy during the early 80s. He had an opportunity to get involved in filmmaking, and this was one of his first attempts at trying to cash in on the action and comedy craze that was taking part in the early 80s. And this film was headed up by my man Timac, okay, better known in the film as Leroy Green Jr. Okay, and this is a film that it was his first starring role. Timac happened to be a young man who at the time was one of the proteges of veteran martial arts action star and martial arts instructor Ron Van Cleef. Okay, and apparently he was one of Ron's best students too. So at that time, so he had the opportunity to star in this film along with Julius Carey, who played the famous Sho'nuff. Okay, and that gentleman was a Broadway actor as well as a film and television star, and Julius Carey made himself famous for the role of Sho'nuff in this film. And then we also had another person who at the time had rose to prominence in the music industry. Okay, a young lady by the name of Vanity. Some of you may remember Vanity, but all of us older OGs, as you call us, we all remember Vanity. You know what I'm saying? And how could we ever forget? So yes, she played the Laura Charles, who was like a television personality in the film. And Leroy Green's young brother, Richie Green, played by the late Leo O'Brien. You know, he was so infatuated with Laura Charles in the film, you know, he got mad at Leroy when Leroy had discovered Laura. So this film is something to be discussed. And what I'd like to do is, because I know my man is chomping at the bit, I want to bring in Trap House Boxing and let him begin to tell you about his recollections of this film. And remember, guys, we got an hour to work with or so you can just take your time in talking about your memories of The Last Dragon. Go ahead, Trap.
All right. First of all, man, The Last Dragon, man, like I said, this is one of my favorite movies of all time, if not my favorite movie of all time. And it just take me back, man, you know, especially when I was a kid, man, you know, put me in that time frame. And, you know, back in that time, you know, it kind of, everything correlated together, like the Kung Fu, hip hop, you know, break dance and all that type of stuff, all collided at the same time back then, you know. And back then, you know, that was all popular things. You know, even you know, you had brothers in the hood that walk around, you know, be one Kung Fu gear and all that other stuff. That's how popular it was. But to get back to the movie, man, I liked the movie, a lot of different ways, man. A lot of action, Bruce Leroy Green, he was a phenomenal actor in that movie, man. I at one point I thought I was Bruce Leroy, and the sad thing is I never really liked the bad guy back then. Like the bad guy wasn't really popular in movies, but Show Enough was like the first bad guy that I actually began to like, and it just like I said, it just had a lot of different little elements to the movie, man. Just a good movie, man. A lot of action, a lot of drama, with Show Enough punking Leroy Green around until he finally, gets involved with fighting, with his whole master, the whole psychological thing about what he need to do to get to the final level and all that, and it was just a good movie, man, with the whole Eddie Arcadian situation when they had built up a whole little machine up against Bruce Leroy and his whole little camp. How he's come invade his whole little kung fu session and just try to just have their way with Leroy. But as far as that though, I'm gonna let Kurt go ahead and put his input in, and I'm gonna go ahead and just keep building accordingly on on top of everybody else.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. Thank you for that, brother. Kurt, as you recall this film, and I know you being a brother with that photographic memory and everything, can you kind of let people know what the pulse of the film industry was for people in the hood, in the urban areas, as they like to say, or whatever, and a film like this, what it meant, how it took a little bit of culture from several aspects of what we were experiencing cinematically, musically, and most of all, kung fu wise, at the time, and your recollections of those things.
Yes, Vanity, who was the co-star, was very big. That 1985, the year the movie premiered, Prince was on top. Vanity was in that Prince, cut from that cloth type of thing. And when they premiered the commercial, there was a buzz in the neighborhood because we were like, wow, a black man doing kung fu. And it was modern times. So, it was highly anticipated. And to this day, it has become a cult classic. Plus, when we found out Berry Gordy was doing it, he had producers, of course, but his name attached to the project, that brought a lot of interest in the movies, because Berry Gordy is synonymous with music and Motown. But what made the movie to me, when you have a villain who has a lot of personality and who could be funny and mean at the same time, people like Clubber Lang, people like Half Dead for Penitentiary, people like Show Enough, they remind me of the same. They had a untapped humor to their character and unintentional humor, which is the best humor. They had me rolling in them seats, and Show Enough, for some reason, Busta Rhymes put me in the mind of him when he was younger. For some strange reason, he passed. Julius McCrary, I like the movie because to me it's a movie that I could relate to. Tomahawk became a sex symbol. Woman was crazy over Tomahawk. The man was crazy over Vanity. But I'm going to tell you something, what people fail to realize, the biggest applause that was had in that movie when they showed a close-up of the barge. And when they showed that close-up, people went berserk. I couldn't believe how crazy they went for the Barge family. The Barge, of course, was a music family who had some very big hits. And
yeah, they even produced Keith Thurman. Yeah, Keith Thurman was born out of this film, man. So go ahead, Kurt. I'm sorry, I just had to.
No, that's okay. That's okay. Yeah, and the movie worked. The movie worked. Like I said, you take a villain and you give him personality like the villain on Die Hard. That's why the movie worked. And the showing off was funny with the Converses and him antagonizing Bruce Leroy, and everything. The pizzeria, Daddy Green's Pizza, it had a nice plot to it, so it was just the fact that being a kung fu historian, whatever, of martial art films, it was a different take. It's people that look like me, because we were doing kung fu in the hood still, but wearing kung fu gis and going downtown and getting the kung fu slippers and the robes and all that. You couldn't tell us nothing, but I like the movie, man. The movie is lighthearted, and I got to meet Time Out at in New York on 42nd Street doing the Golden Gloves. Nice guy too, nice guy. But I told him I like the movie, and it's a cult classic.
Yeah, I was checking out the chat. Everybody is chopping it up, man. They are looking, at a lot of these people are saying like uh my man Omega Red says vanity. Oh my God. Yes. And Ramsey Sutton III says, I remember going to the movies to see this movie when I was 5. And Robert Stewart says, this film brings back great memories of my childhood and spending time with my dad. Yes, sir, man. And he says, I'm going to go grab some wings and fries and brew and watch it after this stream. Okay, that's what's up, man. Trap House was trying to watch it before we did the show. So I'm sure he's going to fit it in somewhere sometime soon as well. And Ramsey Sutton III is laughing at the Keith Thurman remark I made. Dreezy KO is out there. He says, what's good? And Hustler Slim says, sure enough, is still one of the most likable bad guys of all time. Absolutely, man. One of the things that I would like to add, chiming in on this film, and believe me, my brothers that are on here with me, there's no structure to this particular show because it touches so much of our culture that whatever you can recall or whatever, you could just chime in with it, because this is when life was good in our community, man. And the fact that we could talk about Bruce Leroy, who I've got up on the screen right now, facing off against the Shogun of Harlem, who comes into his dojo. There were guys who can relate to Bruce Leroy because Bruce Lee was so much a figure in the black community cinematically. And Enter the Dragon, which was his biggest film in America, played over and over and over in movie houses. Audiences just couldn't get enough. I mean, you could have a Dirty Harry film playing and Enter the Dragon would be playing with Dirty Harry or something like that. Or if it's in the areas where you could get the 3 for $5, they would usually play Enter the Dragon in another Bruce Lee film. There's always usually a double bill with Bruce Lee. So you couldn't get enough of Enter the Dragon. And one of the things that The Last Dragon introduced in the film was that cinematic experience of watching a Bruce Lee film. If you brothers here can remember when Bruce Leroy went to the movie theater with his Chinese hat on and his kung fu gi, eating popcorn with chopsticks. He's sitting in the first row. Dude, sitting in the first row watching Enter the Dragon. And they have everybody in there. Bruce Lee, the movie is quiet until Bruce Lee gets up on the screen and do something. And you got people yelling in the movie theater, kick his ass, Bruce, and shuffle on him and this and that. And Bruce Leroy just sitting there smiling, looking at the screen, eating his popcorn with his chopsticks. But then there's some fools that, like in real life, would show up at the theater with a boom box and start breakdancing and stuff on the stage. It's like, dude, that whole experience, I freaking lived that, man. And they put it in the movie. I couldn't believe it, man. It was like they were in my hometown filming what happened when we was in the theater watching Bruce Lee movies, man. Can you guys speak on that? You go ahead, Trap. You go first.
I thought you was talking about the second part at the end when he was with Vanity, man. You know, I was actually hating on Leroy with that Vanity whole movement, man. I'm like Richie, man. I was mad about that. But I was gonna say that in the beginning of how the whole Bruce Lee storyline tied in with the whole movie, man. And like you said, even in the beginning with the whole cinematic part when he was watching the old Bruce Lee film. When Show Nothing came in and crashed the joint, and even at the end when he was with Vanity and he was doing the whole like Enter the Dragon, he was doing the little scenes of Enter the Dragon and all the other little Bruce Lee films that they were showing, and he was basically get warmed up for Eddie and his crew and Show Up, you know what I mean, and he was demonstrating the whole little Bruce Lee movement and all that, and then right then and there, boy, Bruce Lee knew he had the glow there. Well, he knew he had it. He was ready. He had already seen the master and all that. But yeah, man, that definitely was a good correlation into the movie, man. I think that the way they did it was just like perfect. It was perfect, especially for that time in that era. And I don't really recall seeing another movie that went hand in hand like that. If I can recall, any of y'all have seen that?
I mean, for me, it was like, I don't think that's ever been reproduced. You know, to really be able to cinematically capture the culture of America in one film like that. I mean, a film like Breaking or something like that, The Fish That Saves Pittsburgh, you know, those kind of films, they captured Americana, but this film captured our music, our swag, our theatrical experience and everything from a male perspective. Because let me say that first and foremost, this is definitely a dude film from the how we lived our lives. You know what I'm saying? We were at the Kung Fu movies. We were into the music. We had our beatboxes and stuff. We wore our gear like we did. And it's all reflected in this film. Kurt, can you kind of shed some light on what it was like during that time, especially when you have a guy like Richie, the little brother of Leroy Green, and him and his boys, you know, how they were. Tell us about that, man.
Don't forget about little Ernie Reyes Jr., man. You know, people thought it was cute in the movie. You know, didn't 3 people or 4 people died in that movie? Darius McCrae, Vanity, the little brother and Ernie Reyes, or 3 or 4 of them, I believe, Stormy.
I think that Ernie Reyes is still alive. He may have been dealing with some health issues, though. If I'm not mistaken, I didn't hear that he passed away, but it's possible. I didn't do the research on if he's still living or not.
That movie. No, Richie, the little kid at the time when he was doing martial arts, I forgot his name in the movie. Ernie Reyes Jr. That was what's his name? It's been years since I've seen the movie. I might watch it today too. But
are you looking for the name of the guy that played Leroy's brother?
Oh, not him. The Chinese kid.
That's
you talking about him,
Ernie Reyes.
Oh, okay.
And then there was another guy, Asian American guy, Glenn Eaton. He played Johnny Yu.
Right. I remember him. I remember Johnny Yu. But the picture just captured the hood. That's why it's considered a cult classic. Certain movies has a connection with your neighborhood. It don't have to be the best movie ever made. Is a certain connection that's made between that movie and the public or the people in your neighborhood, the community that everybody can relate to. because Tom out walking around and kung fu gis and slippers, we were the same way because the money we had, we went downtown and bought the same thing, and we went back and tell our friends, I got that brown kung fu gi that I saw at Edwin's sports shop. I'm wearing it tomorrow. So Chinese culture really resonated in the black community. People don't really understand how much, and I'm just going to tie one thing into another because, the white audiences wasn't going to the movies at that time in the 70s and 80s. So you had porn movies and you had kung fu movies that were playing on 42nd Street, and black exploitation movies. But really, kung fu movies like really saved the day, man, because they wasn't nothing to get. It resonated with people. We was doing martial arts, and so the movie captured multi-cultures in one film. And sometimes a movie just works, with Vanity being in it, and Time Out. They had chemistry, and I thought Time Out, because I was like, do we really know martial arts? I always wondered that, but come to find out he's being trained by Ron Van Cleef, I believe. But so certain movies, Chat, Stormy, and Trap House has a very sentimental feeling because it captures you growing up, and right before the crack epidemic hit, that's when it all changed. But it's a feel-good movie. It's a lighthearted movie. Tomahawk was the ultimate good guy and Shogun a bad guy. But you like Shogun because he made you laugh. And I remember that part, who's the master? And Tomahawk was like, I am. I just love it, man. With the electric circuit, whatever they had going on, I loved it, man. I really did. It made me laugh. It made me feel good about it, about the movie itself.
Hey, man, let's go back to Show Enough for a moment. It's like, hey, has there ever been a more outlandish dude? You know what I'm saying? Because I swear to God, man, that dude was like, I'm trying to put it together. He was like any bad dude that was a brother, right? But mixed in with Rick James. It's like he was just that dude, you know what I mean? And when they crashed the movie theater and people was, watching Enter the Dragon, this lets you know how people were, right? And this is straight up true. I think it was the clip from Enter the Dragon where Bruce Lee was fighting O'Hara on the tournament field, right? So here comes the Shogun of Harlem and his cohorts up in there. They done stop the film and everything, and they done get up on the stage and say, we looking for Bruce Leroy and this and that, and and the dude said, why don't you sit down and shut up? He said, what? Why don't I sit down and what? He said, why don't you sit down and shut up? And dude said, Show Enough said, why don't you come down here and say that? And dude started coming down there, and then he said, why don't all 50 of y'all come down here? And they all came down there. They had this free-for-all fight in the damn movie theater. And Bruce Leroy was just sitting there shaking his head like, man, these stupid ninjas. And he got up and started walking out. He was walking on top of the chairs in the stadium, in the theater and everything. But dude, it was so hilarious. It just took you back to a moment of like, fights used to break out in the movie theater too. That's another thing, and it was over something like that. Somebody wouldn't shut up doing a favorite part of a movie or something, but they put it in here, like I said, again, and brought the experience totally into the storytelling of the film. And it was magnificent. I have never seen it done so well. And here was, Show Enough, when he was fighting the guys that was trying to come up there and mess with him, right? He was like ripping their arms out of socket and stuff. He was like, he was hurting these guys. Because he was practicing
Yeah,
his kung fu on them at the same time. You know what I mean? It was just one of those things, man. I mean, Trap, what do you remember about that whole experience in the theater right there when they got to fighting?
man, look. Every time you knew when Show Enough was gonna come around because the energy of Show Enough when he come around, you could just feel it. It was like an energy that you couldn't even really explain. You knew danger was coming. You knew he was coming, man. And like I said earlier, man, he came in there, he stuck to join them. I think they not even kicked a hole in the damn in the movie theater screen or something like that, didn't they? During the kung fu during the Bruce Lee movie film. I think he might even kicked the hole in the thing and messed up the whole movie theater.
Yeah,
I know I know they went over there and tore up everything. I mean, they were calling people out. He said, what he says he's a Jew. Everybody kept talking about some dog. They kept looking all around. And Bruce, like you said, Bruce Leroy just sitting up there staring and eat popcorn. I think he had no point of Bruce Leroy out too, but he ain't say that. You know what I mean? I think everybody was looking around like, it must be this motherfucker right here, man. We can get our ass tore up because he ain't trying to save the day.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
And he came in there looking for Bruce Leroy, right? Because he knew Into the Dragon was playing. So he's like, I know that sucker in here somewhere. I know he in here somewhere. And then the little kid told him, he was like, you ain't nothing. He's like, Bruce Leroy, whoop your butt. And he grabbed the little boy and he picked him up. He's like, Bruce Leroy. He's like, where that chump at? He's like, over there. He's the real dragon. And then sure enough, threw the little boy down. He threw the little boy down, man. I was like,
yeah, he walked him right back into the movie audience.
Yeah, man, that was hilarious.
I'm gonna tell y'all something, and y'all gonna laugh. You know who Show Enough remind me of?
Who's that?
Who that?
Mitch Blood Green.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
He reminds me so much of Mitch Blood Green. Because remember when Mitch Blood Green took off his fur coat and had all those necklaces and started yelling like Shogun? You know, and what killed me about Shogun was when he kicked, you could see the old Converses. Man, that was funny, man.
What he told me, bend down and kiss my Converse, punk.
Hey, you know what? When he walked over to Leroy in the movie theater, and Leroy was he's standing right in front of Leroy, and Leroy trying to look around him because he's watching Bruce Lee on the screen, right? And he says, hey, you supposed to be the last dragon, and he started punching in his face and everything, but Leroy didn't even blink, right? And he was like, see, he's like, catches bullets with his teeth. He's like, it's mumbo jumbo like that. They got fools like you thinking you the last dragon, you know? Man, it was hilarious, man. But Bruce Leroy just got up and left out of there, especially when that dude was like, hey, why don't you sit down and shut up? He was telling me. Man, I'm going to tell you something. This has to be one of the best movies ever made in the history of Hollywood, man. And it is just absolutely incredulous that they didn't make a sequel to this, man. This film right here, I'll tell you something. And it's like this. The experience of this film is like this. For those who've seen it, right, and really enjoyed it and say, oh, it's a favorite or whatever. But when somebody asks you what your favorite movie is, you'll never think of this film. But if someone ever brings this film up to you, you just automatically go all in. Oh, that's my movie. You know what I'm saying? It's like, because there's so much about it, right? Go ahead, Kurt.
No, go ahead. Come back to me.
No, I was saying there's just so much about it that takes you into, and how about the part like, okay, he comes to Bruce Leroy's dojo, right? Now, Bruce Leroy, in his dojo, he's like, you know, dressed in that yellow tracksuit that Bruce Lee wore in Game of Death. Now, for those who are old enough to remember, in sporting stores in the hood, in the neighborhood, wherever, they sold those yellow tracksuits.
Sure did.
You can't find one today, but back then, Bruce Lee didn't even live to finish making the movie Game of Death, but that was a suit that he designed himself to play the character he was playing in the film. A lot of people don't know that. That suit was designed by Bruce Lee himself. And there's a small story to that suit. In the film Game of Death, he was playing a retired martial arts champion who had been tricked into participating in a raid on a temple in Korea where they were supposed to retrieve some kind of treasure at the top of a temple that was a 5-story pagoda guarded on each level by a martial artist of a particular style. And the yellow tracksuit for Bruce Lee, who also carried a pair of yellow and black nunchucks to match it, it represented his art of Jeet Kune Do, no style, a style with no style or whatever. And the men that he was going to fight in that film on each level represented a certain style of fighting. So the suit was supposed to eliminate him from being a traditionalist in martial arts. That's what that is. The story behind that yellow tracksuit, and plus his favorite color was gold. So he put it with the black and gold. And a lot of people don't even understand or know that. But that onesie was something that at that time, nobody has seen no shit like that on the screen. And even though people wore sweatsuits, back in the day, sweatsuits were usually like a long sleeve crew neck jogger shirt and pants, or the kind with the Adidas stripes on the side with the collar and the zip up in the front. When he created that suit there, it changed everything. It changed everything. And even today, you got people who go through certain sports and athletics where they wear onesies. Okay? But they didn't used to wear onesies. They wore tank shirts and shorts.
I want to say something real quick. Didn't a fighter contract there? Don't quote me on it. Somebody years ago came into the ring with an outfit similar to that track suit. And I remember in one of Manny Pacquiao fights, he designed his hair just like Bruce Lee. I thought that was a nice touch right there. He had the same haircut, but that tracksuit, everybody in the hood was looking for that tracksuit, man. It was a onesie. It was different because usually tracksuits used to be very big in the day, with hip hop and before that. And it was just the pants and the proverbial, jacket, Adidas. I still wear tracksuits, but people was looking for it because it was a onesie, and it was synonymous with Bruce Lee. You gotta understand, Bruce Lee had a lot of swag, man. Bruce Lee registered with black women. They thought Bruce Lee was good looking. My sister was crazy. Her favorites were Lawrence Hilton Jacobs, Bruce Lee, and Jim Kelly. That was my sister's favorite people, but who she had a crush on. But Bruce Lee had this swag, touching his nose with his thumb, the way he moved. He really resonated with the black community.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. Want to take it back to the chat for a moment, where we've got some more people who have filed in with us. Let's see here. We got Hustler Slim. Hustler Slim is laughing. Ramsey Sutton III was laughing at the bars joke. I read those already. I'm sorry. Ramsey's also said, Into the Dragon and the Chinese Connection were always playing on the double feature out here. He said this was one of the first movies that brought all aspects of our culture together. Absolutely, Ramsey. That's what I was trying to say, and you put it in another way. Yes, exactly. I feel the same. Robert Stewart says, real talk, family. Hustler Slim says, chat and panel. What is the funniest part of the movie to you? He said, mine is Leroy got the glow, and he caught Shownuff's fist, and Shownuff started yelling, let me go, motherfucker. And D-Style Boxing is in there. He says, talking about dragons. He says, what's up with you, D-Style? And Hustler Slim, mine was when they smashed the pizza shop. They had Daddy Green looking hella beat, Ramsey Suiton the third says. And Hustler Slim says at Ramsey, he's like, yep. And when the Chinese dancer broke it down for Leroy, you got to chop holy ass out of here. But yeah, man, this movie, it brought so much to light. If you guys could see the chat, you just see a bunch of smiley faces, man, tons of them, because everybody's just laughing in their recollection of this film. Hey, Trap House, you had mentioned his name earlier. Why don't you tell us a little more about the character who was the bad guy, Eddie Arcadian, man, and what you thought of that dude, man?
Eddie and his enforcer, man, they was a real piece of shit, man. That New York dude, man, he was a big piece of shit. And they had that little thing in the fish tank. What was that little thing they created in the fish tank?
Yeah.
Where he stuck his arm or his head off, and then they ended up biting it off or whatever it was. But Eddie, man, Eddie was he was a hell of a dude, man. Eddie was just a guy that was just trying to get everything, you know, for himself, man. He was gonna say Show Enough and all that. He was trying to take Leroy out and Show Enough at the same time, but it didn't pan out well for Eddie, man. You know, it backfired big time in the end on Eddie. Eddie was what was the role in the movie again? I can't remember what was his role.
He was a producer who wanted Vanity to sign a contract or something like that.
Yeah, because she was so popular. He wanted her on his, and then he wanted her to make his little Cyndi Lauper clone like girl to be famous with her video, you know.
Yeah, with the Nasty Girl video. And and they ended up hiring Bruce Leroy. Well, Bruce Leroy wasn't hired as the bodyguard, but you know, he was messing with my girl Vanity, you know what I mean? And that's how that whole little thing kind of, you know, went hand in hand. But yeah, he was a little crooked, like you said, promoter or whatever, producer. And he fed it in real good in the movie, man. I think he was a very good addition to the movie.
Very Danny DeVito-ish, you know.
Yeah, and his girl.
That's what we remind me of.
His girl was a straight up play on Cyndi Lauper. You know that, right? It's like, dude, it was totally obvious because Cyndi Lauper didn't really have any talent, man. But that's what they were trying to say because he was like, if I could get Laura Charles to make you a star, you know? He was like, it was crazy, man. They even went to kidnap old girl and everything, man. Vanity's character, Laura Charles.
One of the very serious scenes in the movie where he basically said, "You have no talent. Get the hell out of here." You know, and she said something, but you could tell Cyndi Lauper, because Cyndi Lauper was a singer that was very popular back in the 80s. But when she did Marvin Gaye, "What's Going On," I like to fell on my face. But anyway, she did the remake of Marvin Gaye. Are you serious? You know, she messed up. She massacred the song, but you know, Eddie Arcadian reminded me of Danny DeVito. You know, he was perfect for the movie. I tell you, man, the movie worked. But one of my favorite, funniest scenes when he smashed up the pizza shop. Didn't he stick the little boy face in spaghetti sauce or something?
He dumped him in the garbage can. He picked him up and put him face first in the garbage can.
Yeah.
That was Lil Richie, which I just put up on the screen with Ty Mac. Tell us about your recollections of Little Richie, man. He was that little short, runny dude that talked smack, you know, in the movie and was cool. He acted like years older than what he really was. But, you know, just like him and his infatuation with Laura Charles. He was like, "That's my woman, man." You know, he was the dude was really delusional as hell because he was a little bitty dude, man. He was like about 9 years old or something, man.
Yeah. Now Richie actually was a teenager at that point.
Well, he was another one of those guys who was a short dude, you know, but he was playing a younger kid in the film.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. But my recollection of Richie, man, Richie was like that little two-butt little brother of yours, you know, that's always liking the girl that you like. He always, you got him a little crew that he run, but he always got a shit, you know, some shit that you got to get him out of. You know, but one of my favorite parts was when after they had them tore up the pizza joint, and Leroy came to the house. Boy, Richie lit into his ass. What Richie told him? What he told him when he came home? He said, "You ain't no." He said, "You ain't need to me. You supposed to be the master." He said something to that extent. Anybody remember exactly what he told Leroy Green in that part, in that specific part of the movie?
I don't remember all of the dialogue, but I remember what happened to. Looked around at the rest of his guys and laughed and said, "Yeah, Junior." Man, they tore that damn pizza place up, man, doing karate kicks and stuff on the furniture and shit. Man.
Busted the windows down. Oh boy, Cease had that foot chopped the stand that the cash register and all that was sitting on. I was like, they just throw the whole joint up. They had to do some. Hey, Leroy had some explaining to do with Richie.
And remember something, the young kid.
Go ahead, Kurt.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tomahawk's younger brother, Richie, he's the brother of Master G of the Sugar Hill Gang. People don't know that.
Oh, okay. I didn't know.
Okay.
Man, I'm telling you, this movie was something else, man. It's like, and you know, the whole thing about Bruce Leroy's character, he was looking for the glow, you know, the one thing to achieve that final level of martial arts and mental and spiritual and physical, all divine coming together or whatever. And his sensei was always playing on his mind. He gave him a damn gold belt buckle, told him this was Bruce Lee's. You have to find it. He told me you have to find where it came from, and you know, you can be the master and all of this, man. You know, and Bruce Leroy was actually out there. They was making fun of him because he was so trying to be into the Asian culture that he couldn't even identify with his own family and friends and shit. You know, that's what the running joke was, you know. So when he went across those guys at the fortune cookie shop, you know, those Chinese dudes, they started making fun of him and stuff. They was out in the back alley gambling, man. They supposed to be in there making fortune cookies. Them dudes was out in the alley shooting craps, man. It was like, this movie was something else, man. What an experience.
Remember the part where he told the guy, he said, you want to seek of knowledge? He said, no, I'm going to Miami to see my sister.
Oh, man. Looking for the some dumb boy from the master.
Yeah. And he was in New Jack City, too. People forgot that, too.
Yeah,
man. He was in New Jack City. Sure was, man. That end part, man, it got so bad, like you said, he couldn't even identify with his own culture. What Rich used to tell me, man, you weird, man. He said, you ain't my brother, man. You weird. He always said Leroy was on some other shit with this Chinese stuff, man. but and they trying to teach him how to shoot crap. They over there robbing him the whole time, and then he get robbed. Now Leroy done came back and they done brought the beast out of Leroy. He tried to plan. Now time getting short. He need to find out if he on the final level or not. You understand what I'm saying? Sure enough, them got the pressure on him. He got to make moves. Laura over there tied up. He got to make stuff happen. He's supposed to be the Harlem hero.
Yeah.
Well, that movie was something, man. You know, it's a shame that, you know, a couple of people died tragically, you know, making that movie. It's just a feel-good movie, man, that became a cult classic. When you can get people like us appreciating the movie, man, that means they did something right, because we're true historians of the, Kung Fu movies, man. And, you know, I loved it, man. Show Enough, to me, took the movie, though, because when you, like I said, when you have a villain who has a personality, man, you know, his personality was over the top of his character, but he was funny as hell, man.
Yeah, most definitely, man. So no, like I said, he was one of a kind, man. And I was telling Stormy the other day, I said, man, if the Busta Rhymes that played a high learner could have played the remake of The Last Dragon, that would have been dope. You know what I mean? If the original Show Enough couldn't have played, you know what I mean? That would have been dope for Busta Rhymes back then. It did around that time. That would have been dope. Because I thought, like you said earlier, he reminded you a lot of him. I thought he would have been the perfect character for Show Enough. But as far as Vanity, man, back in the day, look, back in that time, Vanity, man, see, people got to understand, it was like a couple of people that was really, really in love with. Vanity, you had Apollonia, and to me, my two was Vanity and Whitney Houston at that time. Them was the first two women I really ever was just crazy about as a kid. And Vanity was just like high commodity, man. I mean, Vanity is like the modern day Beyonce now. You understand what I'm saying? That's what Vanity was. She was on that level, to me, in my opinion.
Yeah, it's funny. Whitney Houston looks just like Get Christy Love. Her real name was Teresa Gray. If you hold a picture, they look like twins, man. I can't believe how much they look alike.
Yes, sir. I agree. Didn't I show you that picture, Kurt?
Yeah, you did. That's why I got it. Yeah, I think you did. Yup, they look like twins.
They look like twins. Yeah, I still got that picture too.
Wow. Incredible, man. I think y'all got me wanting to look at that movie now, man. Incredible, man.
Yeah, same here. I'll be looking to check it out. I'm gonna revisit it. I picked it up on Blu-ray a couple years ago when it first came available.
See, I got the DVD, man. I used to sell DVDs. I still got the DVD. I got to find my DVD player because he was just sitting up collecting dust, man. You know, so and the movie that's in there right now is The Last Dragon. Right now, that's why I was trying to find it to watch it again before we did it. But it's all good though. We all brought each other back up to fresh memory. And the cold part is that Johnny, the Asian dude, he had more nuts than Leroy did up until Leroy finally figured out that he had the final level. Johnny was ready to go. He was always on go mode. Y'all remember that? Him and his little brother.
Absolutely. You know what I'm thinking about Tom Ock is how he was a good guy in The Last Dragon, and in a different world he was a rapist.
Yeah.
Remember that? Unbelievable, man. Great movie, man. The Last Dragon.
J1 Pro says, I've seen this movie more than 50 times.
Man.
Wow.
For real, bro. I'm telling you, I done seen that movie so much, man. It's ridiculous. When I was a kid watching this movie, I thought I was Bruce Leroy. No lie. I thought I was Bruce Leroy. You know, I was cool up with Show Enough all the way up to the end. I actually had to fight.
They was going to remake that movie, but it never came about.
Yeah. Yeah, it came out on Vlad TV and did some interviews on why, but I don't remember. I don't think I ever clicked on it. I'm gonna check it out. Now that we're talking about The Last Dragon, I'm gonna find out why. You know what I mean? Yeah, this movie here always gonna resonate with me, no matter what. Like I always say, this is like, if not It probably is my top movie. It probably is. It probably is my top movie. I always say that. Right off the dome is always.
Yeah, that last scene when Leroy, he finally got the glow and he took out Show Enough, that was pretty cool. It was, you look back on it, it's kind of hokey, but back then when the movie was fresh and it had just, it was happening, everybody was cheering for him. They was like, yeah, Leroy get his ass,
Yeah.
So it was the same. You know what it was? It was like that same channeling of things. Like the audience took to Bruce Lee. The audience took to Timac. He had charisma. And it's amazing that he didn't become a bigger star than he did. Because, one, having that martial arts training and background, especially from the Black Dragon, Ron Van Cleef, that means he could take care of himself. He could handle himself, right? That's a given. So he could do action films, but it's like, dude, racism in America, man. That is just not something that they wanted to promote, Not something.
I thought he was on his way
with
when
Reggie Owens says, did you know that today is Vanity's birthday? No, I didn't know that, bro. Wow, we're doing this show on her birthday.
Wow.
Man, happy birthday to Vanity, man. One of the finest sisters to ever grace this earth, man.
Yeah.
Wow.
How did Vanity die again? How she die again?
From years of using drugs, abusing drugs and stuff, she had a condition like her liver or something was bad.
That's a shame, man. Because she was married to that football player, right? And they got saved or something like that for the Raiders.
Yeah. So,
because I know the son got shot 3 times on Labor Day. I know that, and the doc didn't stitch him up properly, and he died in his sleep.
Yeah.
So she had a son that died.
No, I'm talking about Richie in the movie. That's how he died.
Oh yeah.
That movie and Boys in the Hood, a lot of people died making those movies, man.
What's that?
A lot of the cast members, Boys in the Hood and The Last Dragon, a lot of the people that started the movie died.
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, at least Bruce Leroy got the girl at the end of the movie, remember? And they were having their little, she was doing her show, and he came in there and the music was thumping and playing and everybody doing their moves, dancing, and then he's yelling at her, "Could you teach me some moves?"
The music stopped off. And he says, "Can you teach me some moves?" Everybody look at him and he said, "I told your brother was a cornball." He was like, "That's my brother. He ain't no cornball. He the master." Some joke like that Richie told his whole boy.
What I like about Tom character that they did, just like Bruce Lee, when it came to women or sex, they made him shy. And the only time he wasn't shy when he saw Bruce Lee on the screen. Remember that part? He started throwing punches, but other than that, he was like really, really shy.
And weird.
Yeah. I like that. Yeah, and weird. I like that. I like how they did his character.
I didn't never really, now that you said that, it had dawned on me that Kung Fu shit. If it wasn't that, then he was just going to be lame and weird and nobody, in this culture could really relate to him.
Movie. Jay Cooley said, sure enough happened. He got what's all that karate crap for and don't use it. He's a coward. Oh, talking about Bruce Leroy, yeah.
Speaking of Bruce Lee real quick, I don't know if you saw this movie with Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt called Once Upon a Time Hollywood, where they reenactment the Manson family and Bruce Lee, because it was about movie studio. That was a big part of the movie. Well, Bruce Lee family didn't take kindly to that, because in the movie, he was arrogant, really, really arrogant. And they showed the stuntman, throwing Bruce Lee into a car. So I said, wait a minute, he beating up Bruce Lee? So the family didn't like it at all. I just saw the movie yesterday.
Yeah. I
Hey,
have.
you know what?
Go ahead.
No. Go ahead, bro.
No, I was gonna say I have that movie in my collection. I just haven't watched it yet. That movie with what's his name? Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. I have that.
They did a great job with the music, the cars, and the clothes. It felt like you in the time portal. It felt like you were back in 1969, man. Quentin Tarantino, a great job in catching that era in a bottle, man. And that's what he did. I was like, damn, why I feel like I'm in 1969.
Hey, Kurt, how did you feel about the dude's portrayal of Bruce Lee in there? Because that guy who ended up getting that part, he's one of the men that had auditioned to play Bruce Lee in a couple of other joints that were being considered projects over the past 10 years, I would say.
I didn't really like him as Bruce Lee, man. There's been many imitators, but he didn't capture the spirit of the role to me or embody Bruce Lee. Usually somebody like Denzel who played Malcolm X or somebody like that, he captured the spirit of the character, and that's the trick. So nah, because they made Bruce Lee look bad. They made him out to be a little arrogant prick on that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, and beating up Bruce Lee. I'm like, okay, So you wait till you see it. That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
His family didn't like the portrayal, though.
So, brothers, why don't you guys go ahead and give us some last words as we get ready to close this one out? I'll start out with you, Trap. What are your final thoughts and feelings about being able to reflect upon this great piece of cinematic history from our culture, man? What do you have to say?
Man, I think it's an honor and a pleasure, man, because you told me about it, man. I damn near jumped through the screen when we was talking about it. And this is like one of the lifetime, type of deals to be able to talk about a classic like this, especially when you was in that time and the era and you can be able to, can recapture the time and know the feeling, what it's like, to be able to relive all the, that movie and, what all transpired through that time. And like you said, during that time, man, it was a real good time in the world, that 80s era, the Reagan era and all that, everything was just good. So, but, this man, it's a good movie to to be talking about, man. I wish we can figure out a way to do another type of little review or something. Come up with something else to talk about The Last Dragon. That's how amped up I am about The Last Dragon. But one thing I will say though, man, I wish that Eddie Arcadian would have got his ass. Yeah, that's what I really wanted. I wanted that bad. I was pissed off when they had him, when Leroy tied his ass up on the chain and pulled him up on the thing. I wanted him to get his ass whooped worse than showing up because he deserved his ass whooped more than. Now they both deserved about what, but that's the only thing I really wanted, man. I ain't want him to go to jail. I want him to get his ass whooped and then go to jail. But that's pretty much all I got on the movie review and my thoughts on it, man. And too bad we ain't gonna get a sequel, bro, family. Enjoy part one, and that's what it is. Once in a lifetime.
And as we close this out, I wanted to tell you two brothers, just stand by when we sign off because I wanted to talk to you for a minute. Kurt, why don't you give us your final words and thoughts about the film? Anything else you want to add and contribute about The Last Dragon, man?
Yeah, it was an era, man, right before or in the beginning of the crack era in 1985 that just blew neighborhoods out the water, and things hasn't been the same since. But so when you see movies like Crush Groove and Last Dragon, man, it was like the end of an era. Innocence was lost after that because of drugs and. You sometimes, man, you go to a movie, you want to be entertained, and we were definitely entertained, man. By the Last Dragon. It's a cult classic, and One thing, sometimes movies are not to be remade. You can always go back and watch the movie. That's the thing about memories, music and movies. Cinema is very powerful because your brain believes what your eyes see, and that's what makes a movie. Even is fantasy or is not real or much exaggerated. When you look at a movie on a big screen, it mesmerizes the brain. You're like, wow, you can't believe it. So that's the power of cinema, and we could always go back and look at The Last Dragon with embodiment, and it captured the soul spirit of Kung Fu, music, everything, man. So I'm grateful for the movie, man. And, I close it out with that.
I appreciate that. My final thoughts on this is for those of you, excuse me, for those of you who haven't had a chance to see this film, please check it out. For those of you who come from the era of this film and were able to experience it in its cinematic debut and first run, this film takes a certain piece of your life because, as I stated earlier during this recount of it, this film gave us a funny look at ourselves, our culture, and what we were doing at a time. This was like before crack, you know what I mean? And this is at a time where break dancing and whatnot was just starting to really become a part of what we were doing. We were pop locking and all of that stuff, and the boom boxes, because in this film you see Little Richie and his boys walking the streets with their little boom box. Now, I can remember growing up that there was a brother who had a boom box that was so big, he had a strap on it and he was carrying it on his shoulder, and you could hear him halfway down the block, with that little boom box. Brothers used to walk around with their sounds on their body. And they used to have battles. Your dude come down the street with his boom box, you sitting on the front porch with yours, and y'all would battle. Who got the juice? Whose boom box is the most solid, strong, kicks out the best sound or whatever. They used to have those kind of battles too. And then those battles went on into breakdancing and stuff like that. So it's like a part of culture encapsulated in this film that we'll never get back. If you weren't there when it went down, you could really never understand. Yeah, you could look at it on film and laugh and say, oh, that's funny, this or that. But I'm telling you, what this film was able to do for us is take us to it was a snapshot, of what was really going on with us and the experience, our experience, something nobody could take away from us, our personal experience. It was something to behold, and it's gratifying to be able to revisit that. I'm just proud to be a person to be able to recognize the significance of that and present it to you, the listening audience. And I just want to say this is a great, great show, a great recount, a great reliving of what that experience was that The Last Dragon brought to us. I want to thank everybody out there that was listening to us. I want to thank everybody who checked in and hit the like button. I want to thank my two brothers that were on here to talk about this film with me, Kurt Sugar and Trap House Boxing. This is a wonderful film to have in your collection and to revisit. You can sit down and watch it with family, kids, whatever. It's just a real great time at the movies. So, with that said, I just want to sign us on off here. This is Stormy B, man. Thank you for tuning in to Kung Fu Film Focus, The Last Dragon. Barry Gordy's Last Dragon from 1985. Until the next time we see you guys, I want to say peace. Shout out to the LDBC.
Salute.
Storm, can you hear me?
Hold on.
You did try?
Yeah, can you hear me, Kurt?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Man,
I think Stormy, he's in here. He must be doing something. He told us to hold on. That's why I ain't go nowhere.
Yeah,
I think he'll come. We say?
I wanted to make sure that we ain't still live and nothing like that.
Yeah, I know. Stormy.
Oh, shit,